Start off, we're actually with a group called KeepArkansasLegal. We're an immigration reform group based here in Arkansas. And what we're trying to do is enact an immigration reform similar to what was done in Georgia and Oklahoma, passing local legislation that will remove illegal immigration from our state. Of course, I was there at the study that was done by State Representative Rick Green of the State Agencies Committee, which showed that Arkansas spends $167 million, they estimated it, on illegal immigration. And so what we want to do is, of course, relay that message to you, and also wanted to ask what was being done to prevent, to reform nations like Mexico so that they don't stay third world countries and send their people up north to turn our state into a third world country.
I think I would probably phrase the question a little differently, but I think that is the key question, because the situation you have now is the American economic engine is this huge incentive. And if you and I were a poor person trying to raise kids in El Salvador or southern Mexico or other places like that where there's not much economic hope, the incentive, the draw in there. So your question is the perfect question. What can we do? How are we going to solve these issues of people trying to cross borders until there's also economic incentive in Mexico and El Salvador and other countries of poverty? And that is an issue that we haven't paid enough attention to. Now, in fairness to the president and all, there's been a lot on the plate since September 11th in terms of fighting war and all that, in terms of what resources and the needs of our own country and how expensive things are here. But it's going to be a very difficult challenge until there's those kinds of incentives for people to say, I mean, people prefer to stay at home and work, don't they? I mean, people don't want to leave families.
Yeah, people wouldn't want to cross it. Yeah, they didn't want to come here. They were forced to come here. They were starved to death into coming here.
That's right. And so your question, I think, is an excellent one, is what can we do to help? And I don't think that we have focused enough on that. And like I say, I think when President Bush came in, he was actually very in tune to wanting to do something to help better Central and South America. But I got distracted shortly. I'm not distracted, but for good reason, kind of focused on terrorism. But I think that's the issue. And I think it's a very difficult challenge when you have some of the poorest people in the world so close to the richest nation in the world, and we've got to work on that issue.
Well, we really need to just end the corruption there. We certainly don't need to be rewarding them with consulates. Corruption
in developing countries is an issue. Education is a tremendous. I mean, we think education. I know education is an issue here in Arkansas. Well, if we want our kids in Arkansas, here in Benton and Saline County, to be able to compete, we've got to keep upgrading this education stuff. A lot of that's
and of course, I think the study showed that.
Put yourself in the position of being the guy in El Salvador who's raising kids in terms of, well, it's the same world out there they're competing in, and yet they don't have the opportunity. So those are very real.
I think in the study showed that we spent, I believe it was, it was $19 million on educating illegals. That could have easily gone to the school in Bald Knob that's having to raise money, and the school system in general.
I think one of the issues. Well, let me put it this way. I think my approach towards how do you deal with this broken system we have is that we need to recognize that in this population of whatever we think it is, 12 to 15 million of what we think are illegals, there's the numbers depending on they are not all the same. And so, in my view, we need to recognize that there are differences. For example, I think that the kid who lives in Saline County, who was brought up here illegally when they were 2 years old, and have been here ever since, and are doing well and going to school and want to go to college, I think they should be treated dramatically different than the 25-year-old that was carrying packets of marijuana coming across the border, 2 months ago. I think the American sense of fairness is, no, those are different situations. And so then you get in this complexity of how do you come up with a change from what clearly isn't working now. Because the incentive now is if you get up here and get a job, what's the incentive to go back south, even when your seasonal work is ended? Whether it's farm work or the tourist industry in Cape Cod or whatever it is, what's the incentive to go back in those off season? There isn't any, because then you have to deal with the border. So we just have a whole lot of differences, but I think we need to recognize there are different different situations and all those they're different categories, and they ought to be treated differently.
Well, I think we should quit giving them incentive to come here and stay here. I mean, like our Social Security benefit.
Yeah, but people.
We can't even
people
support our people now.
No, but
I know you voted for it.
No.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, just a minute.
I read your voting record.
Well, I don't know what you read, but people in illegal status. I'll be glad to take that.
No, I just made a copy of it.
People in
Just
illegal.
Google
Let me finish.
Vic Snyder's voting record, you'll get it.
People in illegal status can't draw Social Security. People in illegal status cannot draw Social
If they
Security.
can't or not supposed
No,
to?
they're not supposed to.
No, they can't draw.
They're not supposed to vote either, but they do.
They can't, well, but, so I'm not sure what you're saying to me. What you're telling me is you looked at my voting record.
Yes,
I
I
never
did.
voted that people in illegal status draw Social Security. What happens now is people come in, they are in illegal status, they get if they want to work, they get a phony Social Security card. They go they go to work for you, you look at the documents, it looks good to you, if you're a small business person, how are you supposed to check all this stuff out? You sign them up, they start paying Social Security, they start paying their amount in. At some point, if it turns out you find out they're in illegal status, what happens to that money that got paid in Social Security? It stays there. They can't claim it. That's current law, that's the way it is.
We have a lot of current laws on this
No,
that are not being followed.
but
We have a lot.
people who are in
They're not-
illegal status, can't draw Social Security.
Yeah, well, they do.
Show them the numbers
Well,
USA
if you're
voting
saying- No,
record.
just a minute. We need to be clear on this. If you're saying that people are defrauding the government, well, I think that's almost for certainly true, just like people defraud the city of Benton sometimes on different things. But in terms of what our law and policy is, if American people are being misinformed by folks who are telling them, oh no, you come in, you're illegal, you apply for Social Security, you get Social Security. That is not how the system works.
No, but
what happens
they're
is once
trying
they
to
find out
figure it
that,
out.
I mean, I talked to an employer just a week ago that once they get a notice from the Social Security system that says, you know that number, the Jane Doe didn't line up with that Social Security number, and the employer goes to the worker, said their experience, and they find out that they had a phony Social Security card, they don't come to work the next day and they're gone. So what happens, that money they paid in stays in the system. They're not eligible.
That's if they're found
Apply
out.
for it.
They don't always find out. And
Yeah,
of course,
if that's right, if they're found out.
And what they already collected just goes, and the benefits they get far outweighs what they pay in anyway. Free education, translator, medical,
Well, we'd have to
all
look
that.
at each one of those issues.
Well, we have.
So if I got all your paperwork, you want to look at it?
How did you vote on that English as the official language of the United States?
I expect people to learn English. I want us to teach everyone English. We get into problems. There were bills that would say that certain documents could not be presented in other languages, and that is unfair to people who are citizens whose English language skills are not as great as other languages. So if you've got a
So you
70-year,
did vote against
well, I don't know what
English.
specific bill you're talking about, but if I've got a 70-year-old person who has poor language skills, I mean, the whole point in the courthouse is that people understand what they are,
Well, is it a law that you're supposed to know English before you can become a citizen?
Being able to speak English in a way that you can function and go to the store and all that stuff is dramatically different than looking at legal documents and understanding what's going on in the courtroom. So, I mean, that's why courthouses have translators and all this.
How about a yes or no on her question? English must be understood, to be written, before you ever pass any immigration laws of any kind to become a citizen of America.
I think
And
that,
there's thousands of
that is current language. I mean, it's current law. But the issue is at what level of language skill, and the language skill to.
Are you saying English is the official language of the United States?
No,
it's not.
No, but that's not what he asked me. What he asked me is, what's the criteria for becoming a U.S. citizen? And you do have to have English language skills, but they don't have to be. They don't rise to that level of legal documents.
Well, why can't we have English as the official language, and we've got translators every place that we're paying people to do anyway? I mean, why should we have to?
making English a official language won't fire all the translators. It'll just,
Yeah, I think but aren't we saying the same thing? You're saying that you could make it the language, they just have translators, but I mean, that's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying is that
if
people need to
they've got the
understand
basic
the language.
understanding, they shouldn't need a translator too much anyway.
Well, but that's